So I've hinted at this before, but in this video, I want to talk about what things I think could be added to the Percy Jackson series on Disney Plus in order to help flesh out the world, as well as some things I'd like the creators to focus on and spend some time on in order to make sure they're done well. This is not in any way me saying that the books are bad. They're definitely amazing as they are, but because the books are being adapted into a show this time instead of movies, and because Rick Riordan is involved with production, I think that depending on how the show is approached, there is room for some additions that would make the overall story even better. I've seen that some people are concerned that there isn't enough material in each book to fill a season of a show. Unlike The Blood of Olympus, the Percy Jackson and the Olympians books are much shorter. While I do think that they could be adapted to reasonably length seasons without adding anything, I think the fact that they are shorter provides the opportunity to add things to help fill out the world and the runtime of the season. Rick Riordan has said that The Lightning Thief was originally written for his son, and while it was clear he had an idea of where the overarching story was going, like many authors when starting a series, he didn't have every single detail already planned out. But unlike many of those same stories, it's not really felt very much while reading the series. There aren't any significant plot holes, and there aren't any inaccuracies, inconsistencies, or logical leaps that give the reader pause. However, I think the main thing that stands out to me that might be a sign of this is the treatment of minor characters, especially the other campers. Outside of Clarice, Annabeth, and weirdly enough the Stoll brothers, a lot of the other campers are only mentioned once or twice in passing before the Battle of the Labyrinth, when things really start picking up in the push to the climax of the series. I would want to get to know characters like Selena and Beckendorf, Pollux and Castor, Katie Gardner, Lee Fletcher, Will Solace, and others more throughout the entirety of the series in order to feel more connection to them in the Battle of the Labyrinth and the Last Olympian. I think the problem stems largely from the fact that Percy doesn't actually spend that much time at camp. In The Lightning Thief, he's there for about a week before leaving on his quest, a couple of days of which he was unconscious for. And Rick Riordan glosses over his weeks there following the quest before the day he is attacked by Luke. In The Titan's Curse, they're only there for a couple days during the winter when there are fewer campers. In The Last Olympian, he's only there for a day or two before going off with Nico to the underworld. The most time is spent there in the Battle of the Labyrinth because the quest keeps taking them back there. Like I said, it doesn't take away from the series while reading it, but looking back at it, I think there's room to make it better. I think including more scenes from camp will both help the audience grow more attached and also provide more opportunities to get to know the other campers better, to add weight to their scenes later in the series, such as Chris Rodriguez's turn, Pollux's death, and the whole story with Selena and Beckendorf in The Last Olympian. No serious changes would have to be made to the book's timelines, just including more short scenes at camp before Percy leaves for his quests. Maybe include some more training and bonfires to help the audience get more attached to the camp, including some more recreation and interactions with other campers. Stuff like showing Selena and Beckendorf talking more in the background of the Battle of the Labyrinth would do a lot to help the audience get to know the other campers better sooner. That's really the only larger scale thing I'd want to be expanded upon, but another thing that will likely be looked at by the creators of the show will be the books where a main character is absent throughout most of the story. In The Sea of Monsters, Grover only really appears in dreams until the climax of the book, and after the first set piece in The Titan's Curse, Annabeth this time only appears in dreams before the climax. While I definitely think the story works fine as is, I also think the show's creators will look to find more ways to have those characters appear in order to give the actors more screen time. I also think it would be fun to see more of Percy, Annabeth, and Grover getting closer throughout The Lightning Thief, and having more scenes together later in the series to remind us of that. It's not something that's missing in the books, it's just something that I personally would enjoy seeing more of. I also kind of want to see more of Rachel. I'm not really sure where that would happen. She already has a good bit of screen time in the last two books, but I just like her character and would always be up for more. In addition to the things I think could be added, I also wanted to just go over the few things I want to see focused on and developed well. These are pretty much just the things I want to make sure we get to see plenty of. The first thing kind of goes along with something I said earlier, but I really want some good Percy, Annabeth, and Grover time in The Lightning Thief. It's obviously the first book, so we get to know them all in it, but it's also the only time it's just them three, and the next time they're even all together for an extended period of time is in the Battle of the Labyrinth. Going into their quest, they're already connected in different ways. Grover's been Percy's best and only real friend for the past year. Percy and Annabeth are of course Percy and Annabeth, and what I think is probably the most interesting thing is Grover and Annabeth's history. They spend the whole quest together with tons of time for us to see their friendship grow, and with scenes like the back of the Kindness International truck, I just want that to be done justice, and for us to be able to see a fun trio go through their journey together. Going off of that, another trio I really want done justice is Annabeth, Talia, and Luke. They were each other's first family in their new world. Talia fighting with Luke as she cries on top of Mount Tam is really memorable to me. Annabeth's feelings for and devotion to Luke throughout the series is a huge source of tension between her and Percy, and it's their connection that ultimately allows Luke to make the decision to kill himself and Kronos and save everyone. Maybe this is something I'll talk about more in depth in a later video, but the dynamic between these three, especially the relationship between Annabeth and Luke, is maybe the most interesting thing in the whole series. A smaller thing I want to see plenty of is Grover's search for Pan and the search in general. It's Grover's main motivation outside of his friendship with Percy and Annabeth, and as Pan said himself, Grover epitomizes the stubbornness and devotion of the satyrs to Pan and the wild. Pan's passing in the Battle of the Labyrinth is one of the saddest moments in the series, and given how little things have improved with regards to the environment in the past 10 years, I can definitely see that being something Disney would be sure to highlight. Finally, and you all probably could have guessed that this was coming, but the last thing I want to make sure is done right is Percy and Annabeth. The thing about their relationship is that even though you could guess it was coming from the moment they met, there was almost no sign of it in the first two books. Yeah, Percy says she's pretty when they first meet, but they really just grow as friends in the beginning. It's not until the Titan's Curse, when Percy joins Zoe's quest just to find Annabeth, that any potential feelings might start to manifest. The Battle of the Labyrinth is a whole mess with Calypso and a kiss and all, but in The Last Olympian, it's so obvious how they feel. All it took was Luke being out of the picture for them to finally become the couple we always knew they'd be. I'm not really too worried about this one. I really just wanted a minute to gush and to say that they'd better do Percy and Annabeth justice. Percy and Annabeth are based on Rick and his wife Becky, and he obviously knows them better than anyone, so as long as he's involved, I'm sure it'll be great. Those are some of my ideas for things that can be added and expanded upon, as well as some things that I want to make sure get the focus they deserve. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you think could be added, or anything you want to make sure is done right. See you all next time.